Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Cars and Kicks podcast. I'm not going to intro this as well as Jacques. I guess I should have started with yo, what up? Sneakerheads and golf friends. Oh, no, that's his whole other show right there, right? Wrong show. But no, welcome to the Cars and Kicks podcast. Jacques may be joining us a little bit later. He's dipping in and out with a whole bunch of life stuff. But I am here. I am Eric Valdez, your kind of car guru with the Cars and Kicks thing, and Nick is here as well. And we have a very special guest, which we will get to momentarily. Nick, tell him hello.
Yeah, my name's Nick. Just kind of bounce back and forth between Cars and Kicks a lot on this show, and kind of keep Eric and normally Jacques on track here. But pretty excited to talk to another Eric.
Another Eric. We got
is probably one of the perfect guests for this show because he's right in that like Cars and Kicks.
Oh, dude,
both those lifestyles are right there.
100%. What did you rock up in? Some bread fours.
Some bread fours.
Yep.
That's the remake. You know, I feel like I was gonna wear my cracked ones to show how down I am with it.
Oh, okay. You didn't want the sole to crumble.
But it's like they're on their last. They're on their last. On their last leg right now. So I'm gonna save it for a better occasion. But these new leather ones are super solid, super durable.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to get another pair before,
kind of
just so I can
put them on
these,
ice.
So I can wear these ones completely out and then
Yeah.
just move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Because these are a staple in my closet.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how good those were. Like I bought them thinking like I kind of like these, and then I got them and I was like, I really like these.
These are I almost prefer these ones.
Some of the re-releases,
nice.
The quality is arguably
for these
better.
ones, because it's black, it doesn't really like change the color too much. Some of the remakes, like on the Aqua 8, Aqua 8s, it's like they kind of change the color a little bit. It doesn't feel the same, but on these ones, it feels like it's right.
Yeah. The audience right now is just like, oh yeah, this guy gets it.
Oh yeah,
he gets it. Yeah.
So before we get too far down that rabbit hole right here, so this is Eric Kendricks. For those of y'all that don't know, Eric and I met a while back through the car world through mutual friends, and he is as down as they get when it comes to the cars. And wait till we talk about the collection and everything from an R34 GTR to an 85 CRX that he just purchased.
Nice.
So it runs the gamut. Oh yeah, that's the new purchase.
86 CRX.
My bad.
No, you're good.
Yeah. But Eric, some of y'all, if you are football fans, you might recognize him. Played for UCLA, went on to play for the Vikings for how many years?
8. I played for the Vikings for 8 years, and then I went to Los Angeles Chargers for 1 year, and then last year I played with Dallas. My team,
Dallas Cowboys. I was really partial to that. Hoped you would stick around for a while. We'll see what the future holds. But man, it's been exciting to kind of see you, go from this. You're from California originally, right?
I'm originally from Fresno, California. Like I said, my dad went to UCLA, so I kind of always wanted to go to UCLA in my head. So Fresno to UCLA, been in LA kind of in the off seasons, and I've been there for since I was 18 now. So
wow.
I'm kind of an LA guy now at this point.
I would say so.
But the car culture out here is amazing too. It's sneakers, obviously.
Yeah. It really is. I spent 17 years of my life here in LA. I'm from Texas originally, but it's hard to beat the car culture in LA. It's so diverse. Even now, shouts out again to the Motoring Club who gave us this space to record some of these episodes this week. But even walking around here, just the eclectic collection of cars inside and outside in the parking lot. You go back where I am or out in Texas, you spend time in Texas, so you've got some dope cars, but it's never will you see like an F40 next to a CRX, next to a Viper, next to, or even like we just went on a drive this past weekend. And literally everything, it was a bunch of Porsches and stuff, but a Viper ACR, one of your homies brought that out, a GT3 RS.
Raptor.
I was wheeling it in that Raptor, trying to hang with y'all. But a little bit of everything, and that's what I love about the car culture out here. But as y'all that watch all the time, we talk a bit about the Cars and Kicks thing, and that is really the vehicle to tell the stories of our guests that come on the show. And, for someone like you, obviously, I think, die hard into Cars and Kicks probably since you were a kid, but then got to the point where you were able to start buying stuff that was like maybe a poster, maybe something you always dreamed of and everything. And it's just always cool to hear those journeys. So starting way back when, like what was the first kind of thing that got you into those worlds?
Man, so like growing up in California, car culture is just, it's hard to ignore. I've always loved cars, trains, kind of anything that moves in a sense.
Yep.
Hot Wheels. RC cars. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where it fundamentally started for me. But it transitioned into being like a juggernaut for me at this point. Like my love for it grew so much. I always thought it would be so cool to work on cars, never had the resources, you know, transition to me going to college, like, and, you know, my brother, you know, going, you know, the goal was always to own vehicles for me.
Right.
I always wanted to own vehicles. I always wanted to work on my own vehicles, you know, wash my own cars, things like that. And I remember just having screensavers. Like, it sounds crazy, you know, but like putting a car on my screensaver and then like going to get that car. I'm gonna work my butt off to get that car. Yeah. Now the car's always changed on the screensaver.
Yeah,
of course.
But I mean, it would be hard for me not like. I work hard for a number of reasons, but I would be lying to you if I say I didn't work hard to obtain these cars and like shoes and like things like that I never was able to have. I never was able to, you know, I wore Converse. I was like my only shoe that I kind of wore going into college. Even in the first couple years in college, my first pair of Jordans that I got new was from my brother Michael, because he was in the league. He had the Nike Elite account, and he sent me a pair of Gucci ones.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're sick.
That's your first pair of J's?
My first pair is Gucci ones.
Wow.
And my brother gave them to me, you know, for free because he had a deal with Nike.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, that kind of got me, you know, I had a fresh pair of ones now. I'm at the end, I'm transitioning from my college career to my pro career, and I'm kind of like, ooh, I kind of like the way these ones make me feel. You know, I've always wanted these ones, you know, and I've always wanted sneakers like that. I've kind of been isolated into this Converse box that you know, Converse and Vans.
Yeah.
Which you know, like those are the OGs. I'll
I'll
always have those in my closet, and I'll always wear them on the weekly basis. Yep. But you know, it's kind of just went from there.
We've talked about that on the podcast before. Like all these, you know, you look at like Jacques' collection, who again is not here right now, or Nick's collection, your collection, and like there's some dope stuff. Mine is like real mid compared to all y'all's, but we consistently talk about if we had one pair of sneakers to wear for the rest of our lives, it'd be Chuck Taylor's. Yeah, like I mean, almost everybody, you know?
Can't go wrong.
I know.
There's the white pair with the blue and the red on it, little blue and red stripes.
Yep, on the little midsole right there.
Nice, you know, you can go white Converse, you can go white t-shirt, blue jeans. You know, you can
and that's
kind of just wear that every day as a uniform if you want to and be fresh.
What's great about that too is like that worked back when, you know, like when I was growing up and we didn't have a lot of money growing up or anything like that. You could wear that and it was cool. Mm-hmm. But then now, you know, you grow up a bit, you see some success or whatever, you can hop out of a GT3 RS in the same outfit and it doesn't make you any cooler or anything. You just have a lot cooler car now. Yeah. It's like that kind of uniform, so to speak, is like pretty steady and pretty consistent throughout time and everything. And it just legitimizes you as like, you're not trying to be overly flashy. You're just like, you're kind of an OG and you kind of get it.
If you know, you like what you like. You know what I mean? You kind of stick to your roots. I love hopping out the car, out the GT3 RS and the Vans, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I love that kind of like, I like my stuff, how I like my stuff, you know?
Yeah. I'm with you. You touched on one thing, you know, that is similar to me. Like, I'm not a hugely materialistic person, but for whatever reason, that was always one of my big motivating factors for success was cars. It was, you know, it wasn't to impress anybody else. It was just because, you know, again, I'm older than you, so it wasn't screensavers when I had it because we had posters because there were no cell phones when I was growing up. But it was the same thing. We had posters. Then it got to the screensavers, and then it wasn't. Again, it's never been about I need to drive this because I want everybody to see my success. It's about my own, like, in the back of my head, okay, this is what's going to drive me because I want this or I want that, and not for any other reason than that's just what my childhood brain saw as like a measure of success, or like, okay, I've kind of made it to this level or whatever. So I get that 100%. And I know Nick's the same. We've talked about this before.
Well, it's interesting. We were talking before we started recording about his GTR and like driving it in a place like Minnesota where people don't get to see that, right? And like that self-expression that we always talk about on the show is such a huge part of what, like, it's like once we make it ours, whether that's the Chucks or the Vans getting out of GT3 RS, it's like it starts the conversations that like ultimately drive us to do more of that stuff because we get that human connection from it. And it's like, oh, like, you know, like I wouldn't have thought that like people would be stopping you on the streets because you're driving the GTR. But again, going back to what you're talking about growing up in California, like me too, right? It's like we just are kind of spoiled to have these cars all over the place, and maybe a little bit cursed because we become so obsessed with them too, right? It's like, I don't know, I don't even know, like, can the itch be scratched? You know, like
I don't think so either. You know, I feel like I don't know, like I feel like there's got to be another word for itch. You know what I mean? Because it's like you said, it cannot be scratched. And I love the fact that I try to put myself in the space to where I'm open and like, here, oh, you like the car? You want to see it? Hey, open the door. Like, here's the keys. You start it up, rev it. Like, because people are so gracious with me, and people are so like, I don't know. I walk into all these crazy opportunities, whether I'm just on a random drive by myself. I just met so many people through this excellent car community we have in LA that I try to be as open as possible with my collection, because it's only going to come back around to me at some point. Yeah.
Well, we talk a lot about on the show is just that being able to give back, right? Like it's what drives us, you know? And I think that's such a simple thing, you know, like I think probably all three of us at 10, 11 years old to be given the keys and let you sit in there and rev it a little bit. That instantly throws that either the poster, the screensaver, the background, whatever, like, you know, that becomes the moment for a kid these days to be able to do that.
I mean, at the end of the day, these cars, especially the ones we're talking about and everything, yes, they're a form of transportation, but they're really designed to bring a smile to people's faces, to incite some sort of feeling inside. And so, you know, what you just said is really dope and resonated with me. And it reminds me of a guy I met years ago when I first moved to LA. Before I was making any money as an actor or anything, I was still pursuing motorsports. I raced for years too. And to kind of make ends meet, I would do private instruction, you know, for a lot of wealthy guys that wanted to learn how to drive cars properly, et cetera. And there's this one guy who at the time he was already in his 70s. So he's got to be like, or maybe late 60s, but he's got to be in his late 80s now at this point or whatever. But completely self-made guy by the name of John too, who founded Kingston Technologies. They make memory for everything. He immigrated here as a teenager, I think started this in the 80s or 90s, started this business out of a garage from nothing, like completely self-made. Won't give you the full story because it's a long one. It's a great one, but he's now worth $5-6 billion, something like that. Huge car guy. And like, I remember one instance where he rented out El Toro, which for everybody here in SoCal, you know what that is.
Monster Jam.
Yeah, it's like, you know, and it's old air base. They filmed Top Gear America there, you know, all sorts of cool stuff. It's a big runway and everything. He rented the whole place out.
Oh, I thought you were talking about El Toro, the monster
truck.
No.
El Toro Loco? No, that'd be dope, actually. That's some next level stuff right there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No. He rented El Toro Air Base
I got you.
for the day. Although now you just gave me an idea. I'm gonna have to. I got to make a little bit more money to rent that out for that kid over there.
Right.
But he rented out this air base for the day. Brought out his son who wanted to learn to drift, and I can drift, but I wasn't a drifter, so I brought my buddy Dayo Shihara, who's pro drifter. Brought him out to kind of teach his son, and then on top of that, I was giving him instruction on cars. Well, he transported for the day after renting out the track his Carrera GT, his Bugatti Veyron, and his McLaren SLR, just to have those three cars at his disposal. And I had a kid that worked with me. He was like 23 years old at the time. I brought him out to help change tires and stuff like that. John had never met this kid, 23-year-old kid, never met him a day in his life. I had taken Bobby, was his name, for a little rip down the runway in the Bugatti at like 180, something like that. Came back, jumped in the Carrera GT, did the same thing, came back. And Bobby, again, 23-year-old kid is just like eyes are massive, just popping out of his head. And John walks over and he goes, what'd you think? And Bobby's like, oh, it's great, man. It's great. He goes, well, take it for a drive. And Bobby's like, what? And he's like, yeah, man, go for it. And that was the thing I loved about John, is that was his whole philosophy. Is like, he had made it, but he wasn't gatekeeping on any of this stuff. Like, he knew the joy that those things brought to him, so he would share that with everybody.
Gotta share, man.
You do, man. Absolutely. And like, that's half the fun,
Agreed.
So, yeah. But what kind of segueing into the itch, the whatever, we're gonna find a better word for it. But
you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not really like, what is it? It's like
addiction, itch, I don't know, something like that. But when so let's go back in time a little bit. You see your success at UCLA. You finally make it into the NFL. You finally get to the point where you look at your screensaver and you're like, oh shit, I think I can get one of these. What was your first big purchase?
I got drafted to Minnesota, so I was so worried about the snow and me navigating the snow. I got a Jeep Wrangler.
Okay.
So I like built a Jeep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Put the wheels on it. You know, put a little wrap on it. It was sick.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still wanted a car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at this point, this is when I really started getting savvy in like this is when I really started, because I would just go dealership to dealership and be like, let me drive this. Let me drive this. My name is Eric. I play in the NFL. I'm looking for a car. Let me drive this. So I just started driving like outrageous cars, like on the day, like just any chance I get, I'm hitting a dealership and seeing what I can drive. Yeah. And I had a good relationship with dealers at this point. So I'm getting like cars for a few days to test out. Yep. And I came across like a GT3 RS. So I was able to drive one of those. And, you know, after driving all these special cars, that's what kind of set it apart from me. As the GT3 RS, I was like, whoa, this is the car that I want in my stable. Yeah. But rewind it.
Rewind. I have a rewind sound effect here somewhere. I don't know which one it is.
So the Jeep Wrangler.
No, that's not it.
So after the Jeep Wrangler, I ended up getting into a RS7. An Audi RS7 was my first like fast car. Still practical. Had 4 doors. Good trunk space.
All-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive. Put a Miltech exhaust on it that was outrageous. Nice. Yep. Tons of pops in it. Like, I mean, my apartment was maybe 2-3 blocks from this place, and I would wake up my whole neighborhood, like all my neighbors who lived in the building with me, probably hated me because that car was so loud. But it was a great fun. But I ended up trading that car in for the GT3 RS. But
dope. Yeah. So that, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, I think, again, we've all, at this point especially, we've all kind of been jaded, either experiencing from afar some of the cars here in Southern California, or, you know, kind of like you, I got to a point where just through mutual friends, et cetera, I'd get press cars for 2-3 days at a time out here in LA. And so you get to experience so many different things, but it is, and we're not trying to be like full on Porsche fanboys here, but it is very easy to see how everything goes back to a 911. Like, dude,
quickly, it happens so quick. Like, whoa, hold on. Yeah. But I feel like my first couple of years, it was actually super practical of me to actually get a Jeep Wrangler. So I got a Jeep Wrangler in Minnesota. You know, my thing was like, I was already thinking about resale value. So the 2 cars I was thinking about was a Subaru STI or a Jeep Wrangler. And I was convinced that the first couple of years I should be in a Jeep, because snow was a new territory for me. Sure. And for me to be
a kid from Fresno,
maybe 23 years old with a you know, with a Subaru, you know, I would have got it dialed in, but like I would have been a little bit more reckless than I probably should. You know, just it's dangerous. I've seen a lot of bad accidents, and you know, I took that seriously. So I had the Jeep, sold it for a good price, but fast forward, I ended up getting an STI my last year in Minnesota. Did you really? To do the same thing that I was planning on doing my rookie year. Yep. My wife was pregnant. I had a 4Runner TRD Pro. Dope. And I was like, you know what? You drive the 4Runner. And at the time, it was like, didn't make sense for me to get a rental car, because rental cars in Minnesota, especially during the colder months, are super expensive. Really? Because the car is going to get destroyed. It's going to be salt, snow. Solid point. You have a high chance of wrecking on it. So like, I bought a Subaru STI. It was the last year it was made. I bought it with like, I think 10,000 miles on it, and I had a company give me a nice wrap on it. Or I got a wrap on it. Yep. I got a tune. I got an exhaust on it, so it was dialed in. And Blizzax. Shout out to Bridgestone. Just ripping it in the snow. Bridgestone hooked it up with the Blizzax. Yes. And I'm telling you, that car was like, it was almost better than my 4Runner in the snow, because it had the Blizzax versus the Duelers. Yeah. So like, I was ripping in the snow, like, but it was grippy though. So I was like
full on Colin McRae.
I'm looking. I mean, I'm walking through my Vikings parking lot, and I'm just looking at everyone's tires that everyone's driving in the snow with, and I'm like, you guys got to change your tires. Like, you guys are tripping.
He's playing like old grandma. Yeah, do you know how unsafe that is?
I hate to be the mom of the group. Yeah, but however, like, get some new tires so you don't wreck your car.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
But that Subaru in the snow that last year, that was so much fun.
Those are great cars. I got a buddy of mine who shouts out to Connor Daly, if you're listening. He's a IndyCar driver, pro IndyCar driver. and really cool dude. And he's had an STI for years. And instead of, for whatever reason, as far as I know, instead of, you know, selling that, going on to something else, he just keeps modifying it. And it may out accelerate his IndyCar at this point. I don't know. He's got so much in it, but they're fun cars, man. So
I ended up selling it actually for the exact same price that I bought it for. So long story short, you know, I was thinking about the rental, how much the rental was going to cost me for those couple of months when my wife was pregnant. And I was like, if I just buy and sell the STI
100%.
in a climate where STIs are popular because of the all-wheel drive, I was like, I won't lose a dime on it. And I literally sold it back to the same dealership that I bought it from for the same price with 10,000 miles on it. More.
I have justified that as a reason to buy cars to my wife so many times over.
Boy math.
And it 100%, but it's accurate. I did that the last season of Superman and Lois. We had moved back to Texas already. We were up in Vancouver for the first 3 seasons living there. We moved back to Texas. And so I was flying back and forth to film our final season. And production will drive me to and from set. I don't like not having a car. I think we can all understand why here. Like,
you don't want to just throw money away either.
No, you don't want to throw money away. I don't want to rent something. So I found an 06 C55 AMG, an old Benz, which was pristine, 2-owner car, a lot of miles on it, well, kilometers because it was a Canadian car. But up there, they don't bring that much money because it's kind of a fair weather car. And, you know, Vancouver doesn't have the harshest winters, but it does snow and stuff in the winter. That coupled with the good exchange rate for the dollar at the time, I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go buy this car. She's like, what? I was like, yeah. She's like, all right, whatever. She just shakes her head. This day and age, I just randomly show up with something. She kind of gets it. But so I buy this car. I drive it for the whole time I'm up there filming season 4. And the plan was to resell it before I left and then just fly home. And I kind of fell in love with it a little bit. And I was like, huh. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to drive it home. So I drove that car from Vancouver to back to Dallas. And I kept it for like a year because it was just a cool extra car. I didn't need another car, but it was fun. Then when I got ready to sell it, I was like, yeah, we'll get rid of it. Dude, I won't even say how much because if the guy that bought it listens and knows what I paid for it and what I sold it for, I'll feel really bad. But let's just say percentage-wise, it was one of the highest returns on investment ever. Like it was, you know, it all factors in. So
and you got to drive it and I
got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yep. So, no, man,
that's what I'm saying. You can't drive stocks either. You know,
no, you can't.
Investment, you can't drive a stock.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So then moving on from the GT3 RS. Now, I know kind of what you got in the stable now. And you don't have to tell everybody what all you got. I mean, I've already said the R34 because I think the GTR is just an iconic car. And the fact that you have one is amazing and makes my son really happy. But that in the 86, my bad, CRX, super dope. There's some other cars that are in your collection that kind of you didn't go and work hard and pay for. There's one in particular I heard a story about that was kind of in the family. Maybe you got a couple of them that were in the family. So tell me a bit about that. Like, did this passion come from your dad, your grandpa? Where did it all start?
Yeah, so I mean, rewind kind of back to my Hot Wheels era time. You know, Hot Wheels RC cars in the countryside. You know, my brother Chad, my dad had got me this Viper poster because my grandpa had bought original Gen 1 Viper. So he got me this Viper poster, and it had a blue Viper, a yellow Viper, and a red Viper, I'm pretty sure, on there. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure we all know what poster I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I had that poster, and my dad would always be like, hey, son, because he knew how much I love cars, he would just be like, hey, this Viper is going to be yours one day. You know, he would tell me from a little kid, and I always believed him, but the older I got, the more I thought he was full of it. You know what I mean? And fast forward it into when I'm in the league. Rewind. Back when I was in high school was the first time I think I was 14 or 15 when I first went out to Illinois to see my grandpa from California. You know, it was one of those situations where my dad moved across the country. You know, our families never really got to meet. I knew he existed, and I knew he had a Viper. Yeah. So when I went to go visit him the first time, he took me on rides in the Viper. So I'm like, damn, this is the story my dad always told me about my grandpa's Viper. Wow. Now I'm riding passenger seat. Like, I get to meet my grandpa. And and then I kept kind of going back every so often in the off seasons to go visit my grandpa. And then this is when I got to the NFL. So from high school to when I got into the NFL, when I would go back to visit, the Viper was now in the garage, kind of like rotting. You know, it was kind of like on all flat tires, rats running through it. There's rat poop everywhere. Yeah. There's, my grandpa lived in the country, so it was like in the garage, it was like There was wasp nests, behind the rear view mirrors, like it was in bad shape.
Yeah.
And it was on all fours. And then I would just go in the garage and just be like, look at it and be like, dang, this is the car my dad said was going to be mine. Like, you know what I mean? And then it's just sitting here rotting. So I kind of like, I didn't want to say I built resentment, but I was just kind of like, dang, like this is a shame. Like no one's taking care of this car.
Right.
My grandpa couldn't do it at the time. And my dad kept saying, oh, that's going to be yours one day. And I'm like, you know what? Like, stop talking to me about the Viper. You know what I mean? Unless it's real, like, you know where I'm at. I'll take care of it. At this point, I'm in the league. I have a little bit of money.
Sure.
I have the GT3 RS at this point.
Yeah.
I just got it. And I'm like, I don't want to hear anything about the Viper. Like, who's going to take care of this Viper.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I get a call like probably 2 weeks later from my aunt. And she was like, hey, we're going to send you the title. Can you so I organized a flatbed to get out there. I bought a battery. Like, I pretty much try to get everything to where they didn't have to do anything. Just gotta get picked up and taken out of there. And then it got shipped to Minnesota, and then I start working on it with my buddy Carter. We took a lot of pride in that.
Wow.
For sure. So now it's running great. Now, I got like, it's great now. Like, it's so much fun to drive. I just drove up to Angels Crest this past weekend for the first time.
Wow.
Angels Crest is not an easy drive.
No, it's not. And those Gen 1 Vipers they're
a lot to handle.
They are. If you don't know what you're doing,
you have to respect it.
You can end up in a bad way real quick.
I've driven the car enough to know like that I have to respect it, and also just to get familiar with it.
Sure.
So like me going up to Angels Crest was like, it's like, I can't believe from where I started with the Viper to where it's at now, how good it looks, how well it runs.
Yeah.
How well it's, it's just really cool for me to like be able to keep this heirloom in my family. Cause people always ask like, what's the car that you wouldn't sell? That's the car that's not getting sold. It's part
right.
That's the car that's going to get passed down to my son.
Yeah.
And, hopefully his son, and just kind of keeping the family, because I want to keep that legacy alive for my family in a way that it can't be done anywhere else. There's so many things you can remember about someone. There's so many heirlooms you could think about, but like that physical car is going to be like, everybody knew my grandpa for that.
Right.
So it's like, it's cool that, I get to keep that legacy going.
That's, I mean, when you have more than just the actual enjoyment of owning a car, when it's got a story, when it's got the sentimental value to it, I mean, that's deep, and I've seen what, recently the exhaust that you put on it, and the ACR wheels, and yes, I don't just like OEM plus.
Yeah, I don't just customize. I got the wheels, the BBS wheels I got are from the Gen 2 ACR. So
those are hard to find too.
Yeah, very hard to find. I found a guy with 2 sets of them. So if anyone needs another set, you know where to find me. But he had 2 sets of them, but he didn't have the Sneaky Pete center cap. So
did you source those elsewhere?
I'm trying to find it, and also there's some companies who make it aftermarket, but it's hard. I got a set of aftermarket, they don't fit.
We got to figure out how to connect you with Ralph Schill.
The original Sneaky Pete Gen 2 ACR BBS center caps.
Yeah, I
would like those.
Okay, anybody out there listening that knows where to get those?
The one that I found that was sold, they sold for $1,000 for
4 center caps.
For 4 center caps. Wow. So that just shows you kind of what we're working with a little niche here. So someone knows out there.
Yep.
Oh man,
and I'm trying to find them.
That's half the fun though, when you're building or restoring or modifying cars, is like searching for these things. Well, first of all, searching for the car itself. Like that's, when you get a little money in your pocket or whatever, you're like, okay, you get online, you scour everything. I mean, this is what I do on a nightly basis, even though right now I don't need to be buying any more cars. And then you finally find the one, and you go out there, you look at it, you get it. But that's half the fun to me is driving them and owning them, but the little details and the search to find those parts. Nick, if it were Honda related, Nick is hoarding like every rare Honda part. So for your Honda CRX, there you go. Yes.
Because I mean, like part of the fun of it for me now is obviously like there's a part of me that's the collector side that's like value. I want to buy something that's clean and pristine. Yeah. Like my Mustang, I got completely original. Fox body. It's like notchback. It's one of the cleanest ones I've seen in person. And not just like it's just like, but it took me X amount of years since I was in the league to like finally find one that I was willing to pull the trigger on, because I had so many deals go through. So I'm proud of that one. But like, there's cars like my CRX or like my Viper where when I accept them, like it's gonna need TLC.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna need me to take the seats out and clean the carpets.
The video
you know what I
with the
mean?
CRX is like, was hilarious because it's like the reveal, like I bought a new car and you're like, oh, NFL player.
yeah.
Oh, he's got a GT3 RS and a GTR. What is this going to be? 86 CRX with louvers on the rear window, no less, dude. Yes.
Hey, the car cleans up nice though. The car is
dope.
It cleans up nice, man. So
I mean, I messaged you right after that. I sent you a picture of mine. That was my first race car. It was an 85 CRX, yellow with red and like a horrible color combo. But yeah, dude, those cars are underrated.
They're
dope.
fun, man. It's like a little go-kart.
I think that's like the beauty of it though, right? Like you can appreciate all the way up to the GT3 RS.
For sure.
Right? And you can know that that's maybe the pinnacle of what you're going to want all the time. But then you can also come all the way, you know, down in price and, you know, whatever to just like, this is just a fun little car. It's got the louvers, like, I mean, that's just like a cool, like, era to just like capture that moment, you know?
And
like
when
you said, the Fox body too, right?
No,
like,
for
that's
sure.
just like, for most of us, like that era just like hits so hard for
And when like somebody introduces me like at a car show or something, like, hey, this is Eric, he plays in the NFL, like he's a huge car guy. The first thing someone says is like, oh, like what kind of cars do you like? And I'm like, shoot, I like Hondas. And they're like, what? What kind of Hondas? And I'm like, CRX. Like, and they're like, what?
Yep.
But when I used to walk home from school every day, I walked back past a red CRX and a red S2000.
Yeah.
And they were either parked in the driveway, one was missing, or there was about 4 or 5 guys outside working on them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So like it was no in between. So I walked by that every single day and it just ingrained in my head. Like, I'm like, man, I kind of like that little hatchback over there. Like that's more of my speed. You know what I mean? Like, and I just always fell in love with it. So when everyone asked me like, what kind of cars you like? And I tell them Honda CRX, I literally have the picture of the red CRX I saw walking home from school.
Yeah.
So now that I got my own little, you know,
I love that. That's the whole like Chuck Taylor versus like a rare pair of, you know, Gucci ones or whatever, right? Like you can enjoy everything in between. And that's what I love about these two subcultures, like cars and kicks. Why we started this to begin with is because if you're really into them, it's not about impressing anybody else. It's about, I mean, that in and of itself is just the image of like, you know, pulling up to a stadium and seeing like all of the homies and all the teammates. You got the Lambos, the Lamb truck, you got this and that, and then a CRX. Like that in and of itself is just an amazing visual, you know?
That's exactly what oh man, I would love that. I would love to pull a CRX up to a game.
Oh man. So speaking of cars in this list of things and like your career and stuff and how it all ties in, like, are there things, you've done a lot in both of those worlds. You've owned a lot of cool cars. You've played for some of the top teams. You've been in this league for a minute. Like, are there things, you're still young, so like, are there things you still want to accomplish football-wise? Is there a car that you're still chasing that you haven't gotten quite yet? I know it's a loaded question.
No, for sure in both. You know, I feel like football-wise, I feel like as far as accomplishments go, like, I'm playing because I have fun. You know, I've had a lot of accomplishments in the league, and I've proven myself and to my teammates, you know, what kind of player I am, and my family, which family, friends is really all that matters, right?
Sure.
Like, you know, not impressing those people, but just like being true with those people. So I'm at a good place as far as my career, as far as what I've done in my career. I'm very happy with what I've done and the body of work that I've done and how I've treated people along the way and just the way I've handled my business. Very, very, very pleased with that.
That's awesome.
However, I'm still having fun with it. Like I walk into the meeting rooms, it's still fun to me. I walk onto the field, man, I get to play football. So I feel like that's why I'm still playing, which is it's coming from a pure, like coming into year 11, I'm really like, from a pure standpoint of why I'm entering the game.
Yeah.
But I forgot the other side of the question.
No,
any cars that I'm chasing?
Yeah,
Always.
yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to just list them right now? It's like I'm like gatekeeping.
Dude,
like,
it's up to you.
No, so, I've always liked, Ferrari to me, you know, I like a 458, you know, Speciale. I like a 430 Scud. Like those are my top two Ferraris that I would probably, you know, gravitate towards. I love a Ford GT, a 06.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah.
But like, you know, those are my like the big dog cars that I kind of like gravitating to. You know, obviously I have a whole list. We all do.
Yeah. What would be at the very top of that list? Like if you had to if there was one Halo car that
one Halo car.
it's tough, right?
Like no matter the price.
No matter the price. Like if doesn't matter what it is. If you could have one particular car, it doesn't have to be practical. It's not going to replace what you got now. It's just that final one where you would be.
I mean, I hate to be the cliche guy and say the F40, but like that's the car that everybody drew as a kid. It's the car that was in the book that I rented from my school.
Yeah.
F40 is pretty, and now that I've got to like lay eyes on one, lay hands on one, like ride in the passenger seat of one.
Have you haven't driven it yet?
I haven't driven one yet.
Okay,
it's
me
coming
neither.
up soon. But I would say F40.
Yep.
I would say 959.
Okay.
The Porsche. It's incredible.
Both
Love
rivals
those.
in that era.
Love those. I do like a McLaren F1 as well. I mean, I know,
That's like the mecca of. I've always been a bigger. To me, F40 is the car too. But like, the F1 is. There's nothing like that.
And it was like so fast for the time.
Yeah, it's
like,
still fast.
It's still like one of the top. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's insane. So I've
But
never
recently though, in a new car.
Yeah.
I was on the freeway, and I've never been into Bugattis like that. Like I've always liked them. Like cool, it's a Bugatti. But I was in the freeway down in Newport, and I was in my Blackwing. I have a CT5 V Blackwing, so I'm not in a slow car by any means. And I'm kind of merging onto the freeway. I'm getting over in the lanes, and I look at my rearview mirror, and it's at nighttime, and I just see these lights from deep, and I'm like, "Is that?" Like in my mind, I'm like, "Is that a Bugatti?" And as soon as I saw the lights, I hit the gas as hard as I can. Merge over to all the lanes except for the carpool lane on the side.
Right.
The carpool lane's on the left of me, and I'm smashing on the gas. And this Bugatti goes into the carpool lane and just blows by me.
Yeah, that W16 sound. Yep. Yep.
And I was just like, it was a Chiron. And it was like the Chiron. What is it? What's the top Chiron? Like the super? I don't know.
Super Sport.
I don't know. Like,
dude, I don't remember
It was the top level Chiron with the huge wing on the back.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing. It was at nighttime. It looked like a UFO. It sounded like a UFO.
Wow.
And I was like, Bugatti.
Yeah.
I was like, add it to the list.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
just like that,
dude. It's one of those. Like my favorite road car I've ever driven is still the Carrera GT. I love everything about that car. But I did get to the guy I was mentioning earlier in the show, John. I got to drive his Bugatti Veyron. I've not driven anything since the Veyron Bugatti was, so Chiron, none of that. But dude, and the irony was I've driven it at speed. I've drove it around Big Willow. I drove it at El Toro. I got to spend a lot of time like really ringing it out, and it's amazing. And then I also I got to drive it for like a weekend once. Here was me at the time. This would have been like 2008. I had like $500 to my name. I had like 50 grand in debt, and I was living in an apartment that I couldn't really even afford. And I'm driving around on a Bugatti Veyron. And mind you, 2008 was when the economy crashed. Nobody had any money. And it was this weird moment I remember vividly because my childhood was like, oh, this is amazing. And at the same time, I felt like I was driving around with a big middle finger to the rest of the world. And I was like, I'm conflicted. I don't know how to feel about this, but I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it to the fullest extent. And it was one of those things that was, again, I've not driven an F1, but that was one of those, there is no other car like a Bugatti, like the Veyron, the Chiron, that whatever the successors are, like a quad turbo W16, who does that, And it was just it was an incredible moment. So for me, even though that's not on the top of my list, I get your experience that you had. I understand exactly why.
I'm not counting it out.
Yeah.
Carrera GT would be like that was if I had a list of 5.
Yeah.
Carrera GT 959.
Yeah.
What was the other one I said?
F40.
F40. McLaren GT.
Yep.
Or F1.
F1 yeah.
GT.
F1 GT1. Yeah. I saw one in Nick's Hood when I was up for Car Week a few years ago, a white one that was just cruising around. Yeah. Have you ever been up to Car Week in Monterey? Dude, got to do it at some point.
I think a LaFerrari too would be
yep.
Those are nuts.
They are.
It's funny too, because I think anybody that's seen a Bugatti on the road, and like you were talking about, it's like a UFO, right? It's like, it's so different than so many cars out there. But yet, like, so many people can relate to this conversation where you're like, we just go through this list and it's like, oh, wait.
It's always changing.
You know what I saw the other day? And like, boom, you're right there. You're like, yes. Like, add it to the list.
You know what's great, and we'll wrap this up soon because I know we can talk about cars all day long, and I don't want to keep you here because we are in LA and you will hit traffic. But, you know, what's cool about this, and you're going to experience this if you haven't already with your son and maybe even your daughter, but like my son Enzo, he just turned 7, you know, about a week ago. And watching him, I think I told you the story about like he loves your GTRs, like his dream car. Out where we live, you don't see a lot of that. But one day he saw a couple of them cruising down and just lost his entire mind. But at the same time, like he'll call out Ferraris and this and that here and there, but we'll be driving down the highway and I'll be like, whoa, Dad, look at that. It'll be like a lowered Volvo wagon or something. And I'm like, yes, he's got it. Like it is legit ingrained in him and I don't have to do anything about it but nurture it. Like he's a diehard car guy already, which is incredible because, you know, it goes back to the whole thing. Like you've got some incredible cars that you own. And then your smile's the biggest when you talk about the CRX. It's like, that's amazing, you know?
I just love, like, I mean, the coolest part for me owning these cars that I didn't know was going to be the coolest part was like pulling them into the garage and then my son being like, car? Oh. And then I just be like, yeah, come check it out. And I'll just throw them in the passenger seat or the driver's seat of the car. And it's like the fact that I can like kind of change out the car. Yeah. He'll sit in there for 30 minutes.
Oh, that's
like,
amazing.
He's 2 years old. Yeah. So it's like, it's just like, he hears an exhaust car, you know, it's like, it's so cool. And that's like, and we went on this this drive this past weekend and for you to bring Enzo was like, I'm like, that was something that I didn't realize that I was going to like, I'm like, Knight's going to be rolling with me to all this stuff. Like,
100%.
Yeah, and it's I'm going to be able to share that with them, which is cool.
That was like core memory for him for sure. But like, for me too. Mm-hmm. Like that's the coolest thing about being a dad is you kind of get to relive life and re-experience these things that, you know, when I was a kid, if I'd have been on a car rally like that, it'd have been amazing anyway. It would have been cool by myself now, but getting to kind of relive it through the eyes of a 7-year-old, dude, it's no better. You weren't on this, Nick, but I think you had a walkie-talkie in your car too, right? Enzo was like on the comms, dude. We had this code word, like instead of calling out like, you know, cop or police or Smokey or anything that's too obvious, it was like Camaro. So he'd be on there, Camaro guys, Camaro, or he'd be like, get ready to hammer down. There's a passing lane coming up or whatever. He was loving life on this walkie-talkie and everything. So yeah, it was incredible, man. A lot of fun. But yeah, dude, it's again, I don't want to keep you here all day. We're gonna have you back on. But like hearing your journey, hearing your story of success, which by the way, congrats. Like we all know how hard it is to pursue a dream. And I'm assuming the NFL was the dream, right? Mm-hmm. Like you don't just walk in or stumble into something like that. You devote your life to it as a kid. And to see you kind of not only reach that, but have an 11-year career and still be as hungry as you were from day one. Like you said now, you're playing because you love it. Like to be able to do that, you can't put a price tag on that. But then to be able to do that and use that as a tool to also get the cars and do the things that you want in life. I mean,
no, it's a vessel for
congrats to you, man. Like it's really cool to see all that success and everything. So
appreciate it. Just want to do right by it. You know, I feel like my brother was a trailblazer for me. You know, I feel like we grew up. Obviously, my cousins and my family members. What do you want to do? I want to play in the NFL. Yeah. Oh, that's not going to happen. That's but it's like, you know, having a brother that was 17 months older who kind of went through the process. It gave me the same confidence that he had, you know, to do what it takes to make it. Yeah. So I mean, shout out to my brother. Always give him a shout out. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, you know, I'm just happy to be here. My cars and my kicks.
Yeah. All right, I got to force a shameless plug on you because your curls are popping. My girl is going to want to know because she's going to watch this. So you got to talk a little bit about what you're doing. On that side of the
so
world
I got a couple, you know, little side missions. My curl cream. So I created curl cream kind of to fit my lifestyle. You know, I like most guys. You know, you wake up, you don't have much time. You know, you want your hair to look good, but you don't have much. You know, you got to throw something in. I created curl cream that's, you know, good to comb through, but also good to leave in. It's called Switch Lanes, so it's car themed. Obviously,
awesome. Yep. Yeah, it has to.
And it works great. You know, I love it, and you know, I'm obviously sweating all the time. So one of my biggest things was like products was like burning my eyes and like you know, super, you know, fragrance heavy, and I kind of just like took out all the stuff that, you know, made that kind of hard for me in a helmet. And, I'm really proud of it. But also, another company that I'm really proud of is that I'm involved with is called Hero Covers, and it's a car cover company.
Oh,
it's
yes.
sick. Have you seen it?
I've seen on your cars. I've seen them in the background. Yeah, yes, dude. It's awesome.
So that's one thing that I'm really excited about, partnering with them. So that's Hero Covers, but check them out.
There's one other thing I want to plug too on that note. It just popped into my head is something, a way of you kind of giving back too, is you've partnered with the, Woody and the guys at Accelerate, which is a nonprofit that really encourages kids, I guess everywhere, mainly high school age and beyond, and kind of opens the door to different automotive careers and everything like that. And it all comes full circle because it ties into the fact that I got to witness something super dope on this drive this weekend. You did a custom pair of cleats that you wore last year. And there's a whole other story, and you can tell as much as you want, or you don't have to tell anything about it. But the moment of them then regifting these cleats to you was super cool because it was, it's to raise awareness and stuff for this charity that helps these kids. Some of them at risk, some of them that just don't know what they want to do in life, and brings them into our world, this car world, and kind of says, hey, look, you can make a career out of this or that. You doesn't have to be mechanics, doesn't have to be marketing. They just expose you to the different things that you can do in the car world, and you're an ambassador for them now, which is super dope.
Absolutely. So. I feel like I wouldn't be where I'm at today without extracurricular activities, whether that's after school programs I was involved with, sports, what I mean? Like I was in sports heavy, but like there's a bunch of kids who are just, who are not into sports, but have idle time on their hands. And I feel like that's what Woody and Accelerate are doing a great job, is because so many kids like working with their hands. They're good with computers, design elements, arts and crafts. And that all plays into the car industry. Is like, there's skill sets that are needed out there that are not necessarily like you crunching numbers in a math class,
100%.
It's like you getting in the field and learning about cars and stuff like that may interest you. So I love the angle they're taking. They're teaching kids a different form of education that's very useful in the job force. And any way I can be a part of that. I wish I had that. I wish I had an auto shop.
Yeah.
I told you I had a yearning for. I'm learning this stuff now
to work on your own stuff.
Yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning with my my buddy who is good at working on cars. But like, I'm learning right now. So like, I wish I had this when I was their age. And keep them off the streets and keep them with a goal in mind. I think that's crucial.
It's dope. Yeah. So shouts out to Woody and the guys there at Accelerate, and you being a part of that is huge, and especially someone as high profile as you, the kids look up to. It's amazing. So,
and I get to rock them on my cleats during a game. That's
exactly.
That's a win-win.
Yeah. These cleats are dope, by the way. They were obviously inspired by like the R34, the silver and blue, and they were super dope. But man, I don't want to keep you here all day. We'll have to have you back on, but I do really appreciate you coming out. Again,
thanks for having me.
We're doing this remote thing here this week in LA, and thought we'd hit up some of the homies, and so I really appreciate you coming out, man. This has been fun.
Yeah, man.
Eric Kendricks, y'all, and Nick, let them know you do this better than I do when we wrap out here.
You tell us. Now he's saying y'all.
Yeah, I know, right? Bro, I was born and raised in Texas. That y'all never left me.
CarsXKicks.com. You'll be able to find the links to wherever, watch, listen, leave us reviews, all that good stuff. Also, how can they find you if they don't
Find me
know?
on Instagram, Eric Kendricks.
Yep.
YouTube, Eric Kendricks 6.
All right.
TikTok, I don't know. Everything. Twitter, whatever your heart desires.
It's all out there. Thank you guys for watching, listening. We'll see y'all soon.
Take it easy.